What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about history was a lie? What if the greatest secrets of the universe weren't lost, but hidden, buried beneath ruins, encrypted in symbols, disguised as myth? What if the knowledge that could unlock the true potential of humanity was not just forgotten, but deliberately erased? Across the world, from the sands of Egypt to the temples of the Mayans, from the mystical texts of India to the silent scrolls of ancient China, lies a truth so powerful it has been forbidden. These were not just civilizations that built monuments. They were keepers of wisdom, guardians of secrets that modern science is only now beginning to understand. But why were these teachings hidden? And more importantly, who hid them? Throughout history, knowledge has always been power, and power has always been controlled. Ancient civilizations, far more advanced than we give them credit for, understood things that challenge even modern science today. They weren't just builders of pyramids and temples. They were masters of mathematics, astronomy, energy, and consciousness. But here's the problem. This kind of wisdom doesn't just make people smart, it makes them free. And when people become free, they become uncontrollable. So over time, this knowledge was suppressed. Books were burned, temples were destroyed, teachers were executed. And what remained? A version of history that only tells half the story. But if we reclaim these lost teachings, we may just unlock a new understanding of life itself. Let's begin where some of the greatest secrets lie, beneath the sands of Egypt. Egypt is known for its pyramids. But what if they were more than just tombs? The Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the most mysterious structures on Earth, is built with such mathematical precision that even with today's technology, we would struggle to replicate it. But here's where it gets even stranger. It is aligned perfectly with true north. Its proportions encode the mathematical constants pi and phi, and it resonates at a frequency of 432 Hz, a vibration believed to be in harmony with the natural energy of the universe. Coincidence? Or was this pyramid built as a type of energy machine? The ancient Egyptians understood something about energy and frequency that modern science is only now rediscovering. They believed in the power of sacred geometry, the idea that certain shapes and patterns hold deep cosmic meaning. This same geometry is found in the DNA of every living being, in the spiral of galaxies, and even in the way plants grow. But there's more. The Egyptians also knew the secret of words and symbols. They believed that words had power, that speaking certain vibrations could create or destroy. This is why their gods were often depicted with animal heads, each one representing a particular frequency of consciousness. And then there's the biggest mystery of all. Who built the pyramids? History books say the Egyptians, but many ancient texts suggest that this knowledge came from a time before Egypt, from a civilization so advanced, its memory was erased in a great catastrophe. Could it be that the pyramids are the last surviving technology of a lost pre-Egyptian civilization? What else did they know that we don't? To find the next piece of the puzzle, we must travel across the ocean, to the heart of the Mayan civilization. The Mayan calendar, a system so precise, it predicts cosmic events with an accuracy that stuns modern astronomers. But here's where it gets interesting. The Mayans didn't just track time. They understood that time itself is an illusion. What we call past, present, and future, they saw as a loop, a cycle that repeats itself. This is why they predicted 2012 not as the end of the world, but as a shift in human consciousness. They knew that history moves in waves, that civilizations rise and fall like clockwork, and that we are approaching another great transition. But how did they know all this? Some Mayan elders claimed their ancestors came from the stars, that their knowledge was given to them by higher beings who once walked among them. Is this mythology? Or is it a clue that we are not the first advanced civilization on this planet? And if history is truly a cycle, what happens when our time runs out? To understand this, we must go even deeper, to the oldest spiritual texts known to man, the Vedas of ancient India. The Vedas, written over 5,000 years ago, speak of things we are only now discovering: quantum physics, multiple dimensions, the power of the human mind, and perhaps the most forbidden teaching of all, that this world is not real. The concept of Maya states that everything we see is an illusion, a temporary dream, and that our true nature is beyond space and time. And yet, within this dream, there is a way to wake up. The secret lies in the ancient practice of Kundalini energy, a hidden force that, when activated, gives humans abilities beyond comprehension. Those who mastered it spoke of higher states of consciousness, of being able to perceive reality itself, and that is exactly why this knowledge was hidden, because a world where everyone is awakened is a world where no one can be controlled. But the teachings didn't just stop in India. They spread to Greece, to China, and even to the forgotten mystery schools of Africa. When we think of ancient Greece, we imagine philosophy, democracy, and art. But what if Greece was not just a cradle of Western thought, but a gateway to higher consciousness? The teachings of Socrates, Plato, and Pythagoras were more than intellectual exercises. They were blueprints for escaping the illusions of the material world. One of the most famous lessons comes from Plato, the allegory of the cave. Imagine a group of people who have been chained inside a dark cave their entire lives. All they can see are shadows on the wall, mere reflections of reality. One day, one of them breaks free and steps outside, and for the first time, he sees the true world, the light, the colors, the infinite reality beyond the cave. Now, what do you think happens when he goes back to tell the others? They laugh at him. They call him crazy, because to them, the only real world is the one they can see in the cave. Does this sound familiar? What if our modern world is also a cave? What if what we call reality is just a shadow of something greater? This is what the ancient mystery schools of Greece were all about. They taught that human beings are not just flesh and bone, but divine beings trapped in a dream of matter, and those who awakened from the dream, they were feared, silenced, even killed, just like Socrates, who was sentenced to death for corrupting the youth by teaching them to think for themselves. But Greece was not the only place where this knowledge existed. Long before Plato, long before Athens, there was a continent that held secrets so deep that even today they remain hidden: Africa. Africa, often ignored in historical discussions, holds some of the most powerful teachings ever known to man. Long before modern science, African shamans understood a fundamental truth: everything is energy, everything vibrates. The drum beats in tribal rituals were not just music, they were frequencies designed to alter consciousness. The chants and invocations, not just words, but vibrational codes that could tap into different realities. And the ancestors, they were not just spirits, but guides who existed beyond time, helping the living navigate life's challenges. But the most forbidden knowledge of all, that human beings possess the ability to interact with invisible forces. Some call it magic, others call it spiritual technology. But what if it was simply a science we have forgotten? A science that modern society has worked very hard to erase. Because a world where people remember their true power is a world where control is impossible. And the African shamans were not the only ones who understood this. The ancient Chinese also held secrets that challenge everything we know about reality. China, the land of dragons, Taoist sages, and mystical alchemy. But beyond the myths lies a forgotten wisdom, a teaching so powerful that it was practiced in secret for thousands of years. The ancient Taoists discovered something modern science is just beginning to grasp, that the key to long life, wisdom, and even immortality lies in one thing: balance. They called it the Tao, the unseen force that flows through everything. When the Tao is in harmony, there is peace. When the Tao is disrupted, there is chaos. But here's where it gets even deeper. The Taoists practiced inner alchemy, a method of transforming the body and mind into a higher state of existence. Through breathwork, meditation, and energy manipulation, they believed they could unlock abilities that most people would call supernatural: healing without medicine, strength without force, wisdom beyond logic. And if this sounds like fantasy, consider this. Science is now proving that the body can heal itself through frequencies and breath, that thoughts can influence matter, and that our reality is shaped by our perceptions. The Taoists knew this thousands of years ago. So why was this knowledge buried? Because a world where everyone is healthy, powerful, and wise is a world where control systems collapse. And that brings us to the final question: who hid this knowledge, and why? Throughout history, every civilization that discovered the secrets of the universe faced the same fate. Their knowledge was destroyed. Their teachers were silenced. Why? Because wisdom is dangerous to those who seek control. Think about it. If people understand that their thoughts shape reality, they become immune to manipulation. If people realize that their energy is more powerful than any system, they cannot be controlled. If people discover that death is an illusion, they no longer live in fear. This is why the mystery schools of Greece were shut down. This is why the Vedic knowledge of India was diluted. This is why the libraries of Africa were burned. Because the greatest secret in history is not a hidden treasure. It is the truth about who we really are. And that is what they don't want you to know. But here's the good news. The knowledge was never truly lost. It was simply buried, waiting for those who are ready to seek it. So now that you have glimpsed the forbidden teachings of ancient civilizations, what will you do? Will you go back to the cave and pretend you never saw the light? Or will you step outside and explore the true nature of reality? Because here's the truth. Every person who awakens inspires a ripple effect. Every mind that questions breaks the illusion, and every soul that remembers changes the world. So the question is, are you ready? Because the ancient wisdom is calling, and the choice is yours.